Hey, I'm Todd Brown, and I make these videos because I want you to rip on race day. My first interview on our podcast.
Amazing. I feel honored.
You as do I. So I got this in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
From
You
Wax
are.
Research, and just as a little bit of background for people, I had this with
Funny.
sticky bumps wrapped in plastic in my backpack from my last trip to Mexico, surfing with Susie, and I thought, oh, this will be perfect. So tell us a little bit about Wax Research and this product and what we're going to find in here.
Yeah. So my dad, John Dahl, started it in 71, and he was a surfer, grew up in La Jolla, surfed wind and sea all the time. Had a really strong work ethic, but also loved the surf lifestyle. So he started producing wax as kind of as a way to live that lifestyle. And then when he met my mom had greater ambitions and really scaled up the company, and that kind of came in the form of like, let's buy a building, and then, well, let's figure out how to pay for this building. And as that evolved, they developed sticky bumps in the 80s, and sticky bumps was just an instant hit. The funny thing was my dad, he's not real detailed on note taking, and he didn't remember how he made it. So it took a few months for him to kind of recreate the sample bars. But yeah, once sticky bumps hit, the business really grew quickly. And shortly after that, in the 90s, we started a brand called Wend, which is our way of diversifying the wax manufacturing business. We didn't want to have all our eggs in the surf industry. And so we're all avid skiers, we're avid cyclists, surfers, a Southern California lifestyle business. And so the skiing side of things really took off, and that that required more sophistication, bringing in chemists and really understanding, like, what friction reducers are available, how we can really get this ski wax, to a world-class level. And eventually we discovered a plant-based derivative. It's called meadowseed oil. It's a transitional crop in Oregon, and it produces this really amazing oil. It's a slippery, really slippery oil, and we started using that in our snow wax as a way to get around using Teflon polyfluoro, which is like, I don't know if you're not aware, it's a pretty nasty chemical. It's a forever chemical. It ends up in groundwater. A lot of the competing ski wax companies use it in their snow waxes, and it contaminates the snow, and then contaminates the runoff, and then there's trace amounts in the drinking water. So it's something that has been an ongoing issue in the ski industry. So we found a way around that with this metafoam seed oil, and the results were amazing. Like, it was performing as well as these really toxic race ski waxes. And so we took that as our angle.
Yeah.
And when continued to develop, and me being a lifelong cyclist, and my dad as well, like, I thought it would, like, I've always been frustrated with chain lubrication. It's like, we all have all the black rags in our garage, or we did. The chains, like, you put on your tri-flow, you go for a ride, the thing's black, like, in a couple minutes. And the
cake.
oil-based, yeah, and cake, and the oil-based lubrications are just like, they're messy, and
Yeah.
they're, on a molecular level, the natures of oils, like the lubrication process, like, it creates carbon atoms. So, like, you can have like this controlled environment where the chain is like pristinely clean, no contaminants. You put the oil on it, you start to run it, and a byproduct of that process is, like, it turns black. Like, it creates a carbon element during the
Why is
shearing
it turning
process.
black? Is it
It's
burning?
No, it's not burning. So from my understanding, when the oil lubricates, it shears the molecule, and the byproduct of that molecule shearing is a carbon element, and the carbon element is black. And so it's
Okay.
just, yeah, it's just you cannot get around it with an oil-based lubricant.
Right.
And so we deal in so much waxes, and we were starting to have all this technology on friction reducing. So we applied that into the cycling industry and created a chain lubricant that was unique because of the application process. So
What year was
just
that?
that was 2015,
Okay.
around that area. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just came out with
Was
you
that
know,
the wax, the like the actual paste
it
wax
was
that we had,
it was
kind
a
of in a
yeah,
deodorant
exactly.
applicator?
Exactly. Yeah. So ideally you hot back your chain.
Mhm.
You have this blend of paraffins and friction reducers. Take your chain off, you put it in a molten batch of hot wax. You pull it out, you drain it, or you let it drip dry. And that's like a really efficient lubricant. Like that's people have been doing that for years. And there's variations on that formula where you add different things like lithium or Teflon. And so to get around that, I I developed a paste version of it, and we did our testing, and if you actually applied it and massaged it into the chain, it
Yeah.
penetrated in the rollers and it worked really good. Like it was actually like a really great lubricant. The problem was if you added too much, it would build up on the pulleys and it'd be a little messy. It might shed if you're doing indoor train, or it might shed on the ground.
Right.
Still a great lubricant. And so eventually
It came in all these
we
cool colors too. It
Yeah,
was
that was so once we created this paste wax, um, you we came out with variations of it, and that was in 2017 or 2018. And it's essentially like we put Dayglow color into this formula. And
it was really cool. Like
yeah, it was the shock and awe. It checked all the boxes as far as, for social media.
yeah.
You basically rub this crayon colored or Dayglow colored wax on your chain turns bright pink or bright yellow.
Right.
And like it was exciting and new, and people were like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, why is this guy rubbing deodorant on his chain and his chain's purple? It's like, and like the view count through social went, from like 1,000 to 500,000 views. It was like it went viral.
It was cool.
And
I used it on my Scott, and I used the kind of lime green color that matched my graphics, and
yeah,
it was
and
tight. Yeah, for
it
sure.
it and we were hoping it would have a bit longer legs in a few years, but eventually, like the fad wore off, and people wanted to get the color off their chain, and they just wanted a good quality lubricant. And so we pivoted and started working on our liquid lubricants. And this is generation two. The first one was a non-petroleum emulsified wax. But since then, we've discovered better friction reducers because, as I mentioned before, the snow industry is pivoting from using Teflons,
Right.
and so there's been a lot of energy and resources in the industry developing non-toxic friction reducers. In the ways of ceramics, nano ceramics.
In the like in market size, is snow way bigger than cycling?
I wouldn't say that. I think
And not in terms of like how much product you might move, but it's just like the resources that they can aim at developing friction reducing.
I think it's probably fairly similar. It seems like the technology on the snow side of wax is higher. There's a lot more money invested. There's a lot more science behind backing it.
They don't
There's
have motors, right? They don't
they
have
don't have motors.
they
There's
can't. I mean, they can move their arms if it's cross country, but or back
yeah,
country, but
yeah,
they
you're really
really need to
limited.
be gliding.
Yeah, that's kind of the one of the main variables in downhill alpine racing is, you
Yeah.
can texture your bases. The base materials are fairly all similar. You can, change the bevel on your edges. It's different skis, but ultimately it's like every world-class skier has a wax technician,
Yeah.
and that wax technician has his black book of all of his different formulas for all
Like
the different ski
like
conditions.
like Schifrin has her own wax technician.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gnarly. Can you imagine
Yeah.
your own technician for your chain?
No, it's
Same at
you go
same
to
level, right?
Yeah, if you go to a World Cup ski race, it's like they have a wax room, and that's where, like these technicians are all working on their athletes'
Yeah.
skis, and it's amazing. Like these guys are like true artists slash chemists slash,
Yeah.
a little bit of voodoo in there. Like it's all of it, where they, and the skier, it's not, it is actual science. These guys are
Yeah.
they have the ability to know what's in the waxes, how they perform in certain snow conditions, and it might be like, we're going to take, A, B, and C and use 25% of A, 30% of B, and the rest on C. And then we're going to like layer it in structure. And at the very end, we'll put some like super micro nano ceramic powder on top, is kind of like to get out of the start gates. And it's, yeah, it's a really complicated industry as far as the ski
Oh,
side of things,
so
where,
many breakthroughs come from combining. Like I have this whole other industry that I can lean into and bring into what I know over here, right? So it's really cool that
exactly.
you can do that with Wend.
Yeah, and that's been a really big benefit of having the ski brand, Ski Wax. It forces us to uncover new ways, and
Yeah.
it really benefited the cycling lubrication, the cycling lubricants, where we're pulling that nano ceramic technology and then testing it in our chain test system, and it's like the results are, as far as efficiency, they're amazing, and then
Yeah.
result then so moving on to, earlier last year, we came out with our latest version of our liquid lube, which it comes in three different formulations. It's, a dry, a wet, and an eduro, and it's petroleum free. I'm sorry, it's solvent free. So it's,
So what does
which is a
that
big
mean?
deal. So, if you have a paraffin based liquid, um, and you add a solvent to it, the solvent will counteract the lubrication process properties. So imagine, like if you have wax, the best way to clean wax is using either like a citrus solvent or a odorless mineral solvent. It really breaks down the wax, but it also, you can also suspend wax in solvent. So historically, people have used solvent to suspend their paraffin blends into a liquid.
Okay.
That's how you make paste waxes as well. You take a paraffin and you add solvents until it, gets into a paste consistency, and then eventually the solvents evaporate and you're left with the wax residue.
Okay.
But in a chain lubricant, the solvent counteracts the lubrication properties of the wax. So if you think about it, like, you don't want solvent in your wax-based lubricants. It's
Do other wax manufacturers for chain use solvents, or is this
I
what
can't speak for
everybody?
their formulas. I can't.
Okay.
I can't. But yeah, from my observation, there are, and the ideal way to suspend your wax is in water. If
Okay.
you can suspend it, and that's like mixing oil and water. So the way that you do that is, it's called emulsifying, and that's, think of mayonnaise or salad dressing. It's like, how do you blend oil and water together? It's not easy, but
Right.
we've been able to refine our emulsion process, and create this water-based lubricant that goes on fairly thin. I'm sure you use the formula. It's surprisingly thin,
So yeah,
but
that's one of the first things I noticed. Not only is it um, not much thicker than water,
yeah,
if at all, but it's very consistent. Where your first formula, it wasn't. It seemed like it'd be a little bit runny, and maybe I just wasn't shaking it up right, or who knows what I was. I was probably doing it wrong. But yeah, this for sure is it's amazing. Like I just hit one drop on the link and it just goes.
yeah, and that's by
Floats
design.
around everything.
Like ultimately, you want full penetration. You want the lubricant to, suck into the rollers of the chain,
Right.
and so with the new formula, like a little goes a long way. You basically just like, hit each roller, carefully so you don't waste any product,
Right.
and then let it sit, and it dries fairly quickly, and then you're left with this, completely dry chain. that has a really smooth feel to it, and that's because it's coated in wax.
So let me just pause you there because I tend to over lubricate.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the application. And maybe we can link to some videos after this, but I'm hitting on the bottom side, so the chain's down below. I'm hitting the top of each link as it goes through, and sometimes I'll hit the other side. Is that other side necessary?
It's not with this new formula.
Okay.
You really just need to hit it from one side, and it's so thin it'll
It does seem to
penetrate
suck
both
around, but
sides.
like I
Yeah.
say, I just
Yeah, and I've you kind of feel like more is better if you're doing a big ride, right?
right.
You want to load it up. Not necessary. You can actually like hit every roller. I actually just spin the chain and like have the nozzle barely open so it doesn't squirt all over the place.
Right.
And I just run it through a couple of times, and if the chain starts dripping, I grab a rag and I run it through the rag and I wipe it. And you think that's
Okay.
going to like take everything away, but it actually leaves plenty in the rollers,
Okay.
and it has proper penetration and saturation at that point.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. And then I'm sure you'll notice that being a dry lubricant, it doesn't attract dirt. That's the main benefit
It's
as well.
amazing. Yeah.
So if you're riding in dusty, pumice, sandy, a wet lubricant, an oil-based lubricant, will attract those, it'll attract sand, it'll attract contaminants. It sticks to the wet.
Hmm.
And what that does is it turns into like a polishing compound, or and it pulls those contaminants into the chain, and it wears out your drivetrain. Like it wears it out so much quicker than if you have a dry lubricant like wax. Nothing is sticking to it. Like
Right.
the sand hits it and falls off, and so it's only the wax is coated on your chain, on your pulleys, on your chain ring, and everything's if you continue to maintain the lubrication, um, everything lasts like significantly longer than an oil-based lubricant.
Do
And you
you
can see just simply in like the the easiest way to witness this is if you have like anodized chain rings, black anodized chain rings, and you commit to using the Wend liquid lube, you'll be astonished at how long that chain ring stays black. It'll if you ride in extreme conditions, the anodizing doesn't wear off. Whereas if
right?
you
So I was
use
gonna say, like, we're not talking about the black residue left over from your oil that you use.
right, no, it's
This is because it's anodized black. Yes.
yeah, and if you use an oil lubricant and you do one big ride, you come back and your chain rings, the anodizing is worn off, and you can see like you can actually see the wear before
Right.
your eyes. So yeah,
Interesting. Okay, cool.
yeah. So
So what's the difference between each compound, other than their names
it's
and their colors?
yeah, it's a blend. So, if the E-Duro is the stoutest formula, and so there's different ingredients which make it a little tackier. The tackier it gets, the less clean it might be, because but also it's a balance, because if it's a completely dry formula, it's super fast, really clean, but the longevity drops a bit. So our dry formula it has the least amount of tack. The wet formula has more of a tack in it to help it carry through wet conditions. And then the E-Duro is kind of like the most robust formula, which it's meant for e-bikes or enduro. It's kind of like a play on both words. But all three have the ceramic friction reducers added into it. And yeah, I mean,
I want
we
to get to
recommend.
that before we do though, because this is do we like, let's say I'm running the gold, the driest, because the conditions are perfect.
Yeah.
But it's gonna rain tomorrow. It's time for me to relube anyways. Do I need to strip that chain before I put on the wet?
No, they all communicate really well with each other,
Okay.
and that's because they're all water-based emulsions. You'd never want to mix a solvent with any of these, so you basically, you don't use a solvent to clean your chain.
What do you
If you once you
recommend?
soap and water,
Okay.
like the soap and water works amazing. Honestly, yeah, I just use warm water and Tide in my wash
Really?
buckets.
Okay.
Yeah, and it leaves, it yeah, that I don't know. I have my little quirks about how I clean bikes. I use Pledge for shine, and I use Tide for
Yeah, let's
cleaning.
be
And
clear. Ryan is a top level racer. Um, and we can talk about our history that I found that historical video a while back. But Ryan is at the top of the top of the game for mountain bike racing in these parts for sure. So um like, and the reason I bring that up is because when you're at the top of the game, you don't leave anything to chance. Um,
yeah, and like
and
I'm not a
cleanliness is part of that.
I'm not I've been racing since I was 12. I'm 46 now. I don't have a big VO2 motor. I'm very good at wringing everything I can out of my body and my equipment. And that's, I think the that's the nature of racing, right? Like you
Yeah.
do your Tuesday, Thursday group rides, you have you put any chain ring or chain on your bike, and you make up a few places on the top of the climb, and like you actually can quantify these marginal gains. And that's the way I live my life as well. It's like, and so when we're able to offer something that you can quantify on your group rides or in your races and really feel the difference, like it makes me excited. And that's kind of how, I live my life. And in regards to cycling, I love tinkering. I love figuring out how to make my bike faster,
Yeah.
and trying to kind of like figure out ways to improve. Yeah, as a cyclist.
Awesome. Well, I got us a little bit sidetracked there, but
Yeah.
I'll rewind. I was asking, do they play nice together? You said yes. We don't need to do anything.
Yeah, that's it's a pleasant side effect is how clean everything remains.
Yeah.
It's not particularly designed just to be a clean lubricant. It was designed to be a efficient and fast and easy to apply lubricant. But yeah, your drivetrain, it remains incredibly clean. Like I don't have to specifically target my drivetrain and clean it. I just wash my bike drivetrain sparkling clean. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so from there, I guess we should probably talk a little bit about um chains, I guess, themselves. Like, are you changing your chains often? Are you letting them go a long time
Yeah, no, they've been lasting 2 seasons, and that's going to be depending
on one
on,
chain?
yeah, that's going to be depending on environment. And
Sure.
I did do a grasshopper 3 weeks ago, and it was those conditions that are once in a lifetime where it was snow and mud, and it was 5 hours of just like, mud. And there's no lubricant in the world that's going to last for 5 hours when you're completely getting muddy. And that one ride destroyed everything. Like my chain was shot. So that's the biggest takeaway is like your chain has to have product in it to maintain its longevity. And if you're on top of your maintenance, and sound is usually what I tell people to use as a rule of thumb. If your chain starts getting noisy, it's time to lubricate it. If you're doing a big ride, lubricate that chain the night before and make sure that it's loaded up with wax. And if you maintain it properly, like I've gone two seasons with, I measure the chain stretch every month, and like there's no wear. There's virtually no wear on my drivetrain if I upkeep the wax.
Is that because, why is that? I guess that's a better way to say it.
Well, I think, it's the beauties of paraffin. It's the lubricity of the ceramics. It's, like if your chain is properly lubricated, there's virtually no wear happening. The I think the real damage happens when you run it dry. It starts squeaking. Like if you hear that squeak, that's damage happening. That's metal on metal.
Gotcha.
Whatever however good you were prior to that, you just damaged your chain. Those surfaces are galled. So uh, you never want to let your chain run dry. In a perfect world, you always want to make sure that you're staying on top of lubricating.
Let's dive a little bit in. Is there a chain that you love?
Yeah, I mean, I it depends. Like for mountain biking, I love the SRAM. I love
These are the
the
race secrets that he doesn't want to give away.
I mean the Durace chains are by nature the fastest chains that we've found out. The SRAM flat tops are the worst, and the for mountain biking, the Eagle XX1 chains work best with the wax. So
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
it just kind of, it depends on which bike and discipline you're into. But yeah, Shimano Dura-Ace has the best technology, and it communicates best with our wax. And then on the dirt
That's on the
side,
roadside.
on the roadside, yeah. And then on the dirt side, the SRAM 12 speed Eagle chain works amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Is that from your personal testing? Is that independent lab testing? Is that
That's personal. Um, we have a lab at Wax Research where we produce our own data, but because it's not a third party, we can't publish it, but in our in-house testing, yeah, that's been our findings.
I
And
think that's
it correlates with other things that we've read from other companies as well. Yeah.
okay. Awesome. I
Yeah.
would I'll back that up. I did a little bit of research before this. Um, so just to familiarize myself, because I just won't just grab my bike and go. I've definitely come home with a squeaky chain. I should have lubed the night before.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of the night before, what is the time limit that you want to hit your chain with a new coat of wax before heading?
E- you can ride it wet. It will work fine. It lasts longest if you let it dry. So, if it's normal temperatures, 60 to 70 degrees, it'll dry within 10 minutes. You can touch it. It's funny too, because when you apply the wax to your chain and let it dry, your chain's pretty stiff. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced that. And that's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like the paraffin
Dang.
has penetrated it. Yeah. And like you backpedal and the chain's almost like solid because the wax is set up.
Right.
That's great. It'll take a couple minutes for it to break in and kind of break all those wax bonds free, and from that point forward, the chain's amazing. But personally, I'll come back after a ride and I'll hit the chain. It takes maybe 20 seconds. You just, however long it takes to do
You'll
two
just hit it
rotations of the
after every
pedal.
ride.
Yeah, and there's no
Okay.
reason not to, because I don't like, who knows what tomorrow might bring. What
Right.
if yeah, what if your buddy calls and wants to do a 5 hour ride, and you hop on your bike and it's ready to go? So there's no reason not to. Just kind of institutionalize that process where you come back home, hit your chain, hang your bike up, and it's ready to go for the next time. Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to cover on the product? So I have a couple of other questions.
I mean, it's a boring looking product. It's white and it's wet and but it's amazing. And I think by nature, the more people that use it will understand its brilliance, and they'll spread by word of mouth. And I think I saw that with you. Like I sent you a sample
Oh
bottle,
yeah.
and it took a week, I think, before you actually used it. And then you're like, this stuff's amazing. Like I spent all day on my gravel bike. It was
Yeah.
amazing. I really appreciate the nuances of this formula. Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit, because this just remember. So I love marketing. Like I'm in it every day. That's what I do for Pedal Industries, and we've had a discussion on this before, but let's talk about the pricing. So where's this come in price point wise?
It's about $15 a bottle,
Okay.
and if you use it, it'll last an avid cyclist, a month or two, depending on how many hours you ride a week or how many applications you use. So it goes, it's it's I feel it's priced fairly. Yeah.
So that's where we've had a discussion, right? When I got the wax, I don't know if you remember this, but I
Yeah,
texted
you're like, why are you charging? Or, you should
I
charge
said,
more. I'm like,
you have to charge more because people won't believe that it's
yeah,
good. And the
yeah,
reason for that is I had drifted away from your paste wax and tried some of the more expensive brands, and we're talking $50 a bottle for a
mm,
similar size. And when you pay a lot for something, you tend to believe that there's a placebo effect there, like it or not. And so I'm not saying to raise your price, but I just wanted to bring that up for people. One, it's very fairly priced, I think,
Mhm.
shockingly, honestly.
Yeah.
And don't be deceived by thinking, oh, I've got to pay way more. It's the same thing with the chain thing that you just talked about. Like some chains do justify the price, some do not. They're just the performance isn't there. Um,
Yeah, and I can back that up a bit with some data from wax research. We produce a lot of surf wax, snow wax. We buy we buy 200,000 pounds of paraffin annually. So we have buying power, and
yeah.
I think a lot of these other companies don't, they pay higher prices per pound for their products. And there's the placebo effect too, and this market, this category is getting saturated. There's quite a lot of new wax-based lubricants out there,
Hmm.
but we feel that we have a unique blend, we have unique ingredients, and we have buying power. And you know, we're not a big marketing company, so it was a way to kind of price it fairly, and maybe it is underpriced slightly, but that was going to allow us to get the market penetration, and really get the word of mouth out
Yeah.
there. So that was the reason behind that. But yeah, I'll take your, after this meeting, I'll log into the website and double the
If
pricing,
you're
see what
just
happens.
watching this video, we just launched it. Load up.
Yeah.
So, um, so this is a lifestyle business, right? Out of your dad's passion for surfing, he creates a product that will allow him to just spend more time in the water and cover his rent. Your
Yeah.
mom comes in with this, we might have something here. And here you are in a garage in a beautiful part of the country, some beautiful jewelry hanging behind you. Um, what is your function at Wax Research at this time?
I mean, my official title is CEO. I I handle all the buying, I handle the financials, I do the budgeting. So anything dealing with, the overall profitability of the company crosses, my desk. And I talk to my parents every day. They still love working. They come to work. My dad's still formulating. He's a he will always be a bench chemist, just looking for new ways and creative ways to make faster wax, whether it's snow, bike, or stickier wax and surfing. But yeah, so we've we've really encompassed that Southern California lifestyle where you're not just a surfer, you're not just a biker, you're all of it. We grew up riding motocross, and then on the weekends we'd go to Mammoth and go ski, and then in between we're cycling because the community is so strong down there. And
Right.
so we're just active people who appreciate the outdoors. And I think that's kind of that probably fits within your wheelhouse too. And like that's kind of the lifestyle that we've all um, wanted to focus on, and wax research has really enabled our family to live that way. And yeah, so
Yeah, it's Southern California is very unique in terms of it's like the Silicon Valley of action sports.
yeah.
Um, I just learned that I think he wants to keep it on the down low, but there are multiple Supercross stars that live here in Southern California. They keep it on the down low, based out of Colorado, but you can actually see them out here riding on the trails on the motocross side and the surf side and the cycling side if you just look at what's happening. So that part's exciting. It's fun to have a lifestyle business, of course.
Yeah.
You've been super gracious with your time. I will put the video. Was going through old videos. My wife uploaded our old family videos, and there's a video of me racing in Carlsbad, and this young punk beats us all, named Ryan Dahl. And I was like, that can't be Ryan. So I I sent you the video. I was in my 30s at the time. I think I had one child, and um, so well, we go back longer than we thought we did.
Yeah, that was amazing to see an old circuit race video back in the day. And Ralph's still out there announcing all these races in Southern California.
Yeah, he is.
Small
With
world.
his little trailers. It's a great
Yeah.
thing. All right, dude. It's super good to see you. When are you coming down next?
I'll be down in a couple weeks. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So
Are you gonna hit Thug Ride?
I have always, yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna be at Sea Otter, by the way?
I will. Yeah, I'm gonna race the XC race. Just the mountain bike race this year.
Not the Fuego, the long one for the Leadville qualifier, or the short?
I'm not gonna do the long one. My wife Echo is gonna do the XL, which
Okay.
is super gnarly. We're both qualified for Leadville, so we'll be there this year.
Okay.
Yeah, after a few years of deferring due to all the different COVID things. But yeah, we'll be at Leadville. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
How
Well,
about you? Are you gonna
pardon me?
are you gonna do Leadville this year?
I'm not, last year, as you may recall, it was a big year for me. I put a lot of time into getting that PR and going under 8 hours, and it's really hard. People don't appreciate that. Like, oh, you're in such good shape, go back. You don't understand what went into that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a little break. But I will be cheering you on in spirit for sure. And maybe I'll see you at Seattle. Well, hopefully I'll see you. And if people see you, I think you're the only person riding around in a Wend kit, maybe Echo as well. But
yeah, there's a few of us, but yeah, if you see me, say hi, and chances are I'll have a bottle of lube in my back pocket, and I'll hook you up with the wax.
I love that. All right, awesome, Ryan. It's great to see you.
You too,
Say hi
Todd.
to Echo, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Cool.
Do you see what I got in the back?
Broseph.
Yeah,
you're supporting the brand.
Yeah, my RaceDay bag. I was
not just any brand, not just any RaceDay bag, the custom one.
Yeah, it's the one you did for us a while back. I absolutely love this bag.
How old is that one? Because that one, how long have you had that?
It's been a long time. It might be since 2018.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You love it? Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So it's got a compartment for everything I need. I think we have a sprinter van, so it's whether we're going to an event or just going on out of town on a ride. The first thing I do is you check the weather, you grab everything you need for the worst case and best case scenario, and then I grab it, put it in a pile, and then I start loading my bag. I throw the shoes on one side, the helmet in the other. I have my nutrition slot where I put my gel in and like my multi-tool. And then you have your compartment for your bib and your jersey, and then your arm warmers and leg warmers, and then like your worst case scenario where you just throw like your rain jacket and beanie and worst all the bad weather gear. But it's such a peace of mind because we've all been there the night before a race where you're running around in circles trying to figure out like did I remember to put the gloves in there, or do I need my hat, or like do I have my my pins for my number? This has just been a game changer as far as like once it's loaded, I know everything's in there that I'm going to need, and then I throw it in the van, and then it's just right there. So yeah, I really can't talk highly enough about the RaceDay bag and how much I use it. This one says road, so I have like my road bag where I'll and it's a little bit different than my mountain bike bag. That sometimes I'll keep it ready to go and stocked.
A lot of people do that. I was surprised that people buy multiple bags, and they'll have a bag dedicated for road and mountain, typically between those two, or road and gravel or whatever. Mainly because the shoes are different, the helmet might be slightly different, but
yeah,
it's interesting.
Love it. So thanks again for making those.
Oh yeah, for sure. It looks sunny there. You're gonna head out?
Yeah, absolutely. Once the temperature gets over 40, I'm out there.
All right, I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go down and ride. I'm riding Victor Sagebrush Race. But I just love that course. It's so fun down there.
Yeah, he does such a good job with all the trail maintenance, and it sounds like you guys are gonna have some hero dirt out there. So have a great time.
Yeah.
And say hi to Victor for me.
All right, I'll do that. All right, see you, buddy. Thanks so much. That was super fun for me.
Yeah, me too. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
3 Look at it, we're going to a delta formation. Somebody's dangling on the front. Stand back behind the curves. This is the killer threes. And they are going neck to neck. Heads are bumping, knees are banging. Looks like unofficially he's going to take a Kenyan Bellows. 7:58, the unofficial winner from Team Kenyan Bellows, Ryan Dahl. Congratulations, Ryan Dahl, Team Kenyan Bellows, the unofficial winner. Good job, senior threes, Ryan Dahl, the unofficial winner. Congratulations on a great and safe race. 2 minutes for all the riders a chance to finish. You still have more women riders as well as senior threes finishing. Do not.
Hey everybody, these podcasts and vlogs are new for Pedal Industries, so if you're enjoying them, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks so much. Keep challenging yourself.